So like, I just realized, like, I didn't even explain, like, anything about, like, anything at all. And so, like, I take full responsibility for that. Like, I really should have been more clear. So, I didn't give any direction whatsoever. I just kind of, like, did, like, explain some transfer things and transaction things and, like, connection things, which is not at all good. So, like, here's the thing is, like, where we need to start. So, like, here, I didn't even mention this. I don't know why, but I didn't give specifics at all, like, for a long period of time. So, I take full responsibility for that. So, let's just start with something I came up back in the thesis when I wrote it for Project Hypercane, but it's still important. But I didn't explain, like, what it was. So here it goes, quote, "We have to choose to make our life better. We have to do more than just become changed. We have to understand that we are all in the process of becoming. You can say change, but it means nothing if you don't take advantage of it. And movement and motion is what's required. I strive to be the best I can be, to put forth my best effort in all that I do, to be respectful, and take personal responsibility for the choices I make. I have begun my year-long journey as a positive role model for lifelong learning. On my honor, I will do my duty to God and my country, to obey the Scout law, and help other people at all times to be physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. It's not over until I win." End quote. So, there's a lot of things that pertains to, and it can mean and definitely inspire and impact a lot of people in their lives, and that's good, because that's kind of the goal I had. I'm not going to say, like, I want to inspire. I don't want to direct, like, or, like, control. I'm not controlling, I'm just inspiring. So, that whole part there is just about inspiration. It's not about, like, control or anything like that. It's liberating. It's supposed to be liberating. It's very celebratory. It's a good thing. It's like self-responsibility. And then there's an excerpt about the Library of Barthologos, about Mikos, the guardian of the Earth's records, and all the records in the solar system and universe. So it goes into detail about that, and that's like the intro of the entire thesis. And I should have mentioned that exactly, like, who he is. He's the guardian. He's guardian. So I should have mentioned that, and I didn't. So I take full responsibility for that. Few men are willing to brave the disapproval of their fellows, the censure of the colleagues, the wrath of their society. Moral courage is a rarer commodity than bravery in battle or great intelligence, yet it is the one essential vital quality for those who seek to change a world which yields most painfully to change. And that's by Robert F. Kennedy in his 1966 speech. He's the U.S. Democratic politician. And all truth, here's another quote, all truth passes through three stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. Third, it is accepted as being self-evident. So, I didn't explain this at all. Like, it's like there's a bunch of loose things out there that I can also claim responsibility for. Or not claim responsibility for, like, I want to claim and, like, own something and, like, pounce on it. No, it's just, like, I just want to express that I believe that all truth passes through these three stages, and I feel personally like I know those stages, that I've encountered those stages, and that I'm about to encounter the stages with this thesis at this time that I was writing it. Getting inside my own mind, that's what I was trying to write. So now, not trying to get inside my own mind, it's just the fact that there's reason to tell the truth and to support the truth, and because it passes through three stages. It's ridiculed, it's violently opposed, and then it's being third is accepted as self-evident. So that's what's an inspiring thing, and it makes more sense with the rest of the thesis. So I'm not going to go over the whole thing, but there is one thing that, like, there's so many things I didn't mention. that didn't make any sense with the previous broadcast that I did. So I definitely want to go over some things about it because it didn't make any sense. So I'm going to fill in the blanks. I'm going to fill in all the blanks. So it's just I was not specific at all, but I was talking about the repression of non-conventional energy technologies. Those are the technologies I was referring to, and it's literally been just 3 years of me not even being really specific about it. I realized I probably didn't even say like what type of technologies are supposed to be a part of Project Hypercane, for example. So I take full responsibility for that. That's my fault. Is a really important bullet point. Gravity field propulsion is real. Townsend Brown's technology of electrogravitics. Some details about that in the excerpt that I have in the thesis, which is from the Podkill North Gravity Shield and Project Green Glow to the kinetic baric field propulsion and field thrust experiments on piezoelectrics. And then the next chapter sort of thing is about how an aerospace designer blows the whistle on secret U.S. Navy space battle fleets. This was written back in 2016, January 26th. But it's really important because it talks about William Tompkins, and I didn't mention this at all, and I really should have, because I just say all this stuff is kept secret, and all this stuff is hidden when it's, and I haven't really even said the importance of what it is or what is revealed or what I thought was or what was secret that's now I'm trying to not be secret, but I just never ever talked about that. I just said there are things that should be revealed and they shouldn't be kept secret anymore, and I didn't really explain what the secret was, about Solar Warden to the intergalactic corporate conglomerate to many different things that I mentioned over the years that has really pointed to anything specific. So I needed to be more specific, and I realized that today, and so I'm being more specific with the information, especially I was very, to be honest, I really was. I was very unspecific when I created my last broadcast, and I should have been more specific. I should have been more specific on the last Christopher Bowen show that I created. So it's important to know that he designed a naval spacecraft battlecruiser, and he recently died. He was well over 90 years old, so he was developing these back in 1954. It was a Navy request, Douglas Aircraft Advanced Design. And it's found in Selected by Extraterrestrials, the book is. So I should have mentioned that, and I didn't. It's really awakening to know things like that, and I just kept it secret. I didn't even mention it, so I take responsibility for that. Project Orion goes into a little detail about energy suppression cases. The thesis goes into more detail about energy invention suppression cases. And it's all been compiled by Gary Vesperman with the helps of numerous contributors. And so, long story short, there's been lots and lots of suppression. And I just said something really short and quick, and it was just really blunt and frank, and I wasn't specific, so I should have been more specific. And here's what I mean about specifics about all those patents that I just kind of was just being unspecific about it and just more fluid. So there's no need for that. So I'm just going to go into more detail for this broadcast so that explains that. Start off with some music, nice intro, and then kind of go into the meaty parts and actually explain the meaty details instead of skimming over it and then doing a whole bunch of things that have to do with not non-specific details. And that was really irresponsible to really explain not in detail and to not give and to not be open about like exactly the specifics of what I meant by every word or every phrase, and so I apologize for that. But some of the things are water fuel cell powered cars, to cold fusion, to vacuum triode amplifiers, to 90 miles per gallon carburetors, to Tom Ogle's Oldsmobile 100 plus miles per gallon, and then Charles and Pogue 200 plus miles per gallon. So I should have been more specific about what the actual patents were that were suppressed, and I didn't mention that, so I'm more affirm on that, and hopefully seem more human because of it. More responsible at least. So there's a lot of suppression cases, anywhere from 1952 during the Korean conflict to to 2007 or to the 1970s, when, just like a little excerpt, the Disclosure Project is extremely important for people to know. Forward parentheses, see secrets from the stars elsewhere in this issue, close parentheses. We could be having the greatest economic boom in the history of history. We could actually do that. The technology exists. As early as the 1970s, Henry Kissinger, George Bush, Richard Nixon, all kinds of these guys knew about these physics, but the downside is that we are on the brink of oblivion. Parents are paying all this money to educate their children into the lie of physics instead of into the truth of physics. Meanwhile, they are taking Prozac. We have legalized the anesthesiation of our species. Depression is appropriate. And it goes into more details. For example, it talks about Adams, what is the purpose of your organization, Project Earth? And Tremblay responds, the original foundation of Project Earth was to reveal to the human species the actual condition of our planet. We're not being told the truth about it. For the most part, the scientific community doesn't know the truth and has been disempowered by their so-called education that they've lost vision. Vision is the only thing that will save us. You have to be able to see where you're going. The agreement that I made with the divine is one that Bucky and I talked about. We would never just illuminate the problem. We would always offer a solution. If we talked about an energy crisis, we would talk about only it in the context of the fact that there is no energy crisis. Electrical power is already abundantly available, pollution-free. We like electricity. We can power our cars and flying saucers with infinite electrical power. We could have so much fun that living on Earth wouldn't be a drag, but would be really great. Your eyes would be so open that you would walk out the door and you wouldn't see the smog in Los Angeles, but you'd see the clear, sacred air. Project Earth is not about communicating the problems. It's about the transformation of humanity. And I wasn't really specific about what I meant by vision, and what I meant by vision in general, and what I meant by my vision. So I should have been more specific about that. I should have been more specific about, what it means to have a vision or to embody a vision, and then to see the vision, and then have that vision. And I was really not really direct about that, and I was not specific at all about the vision in my previous. So I take responsibility, and I really do claim that I'm referencing this vision to the vision that I have. So I apologize for that. Venus Project is the other project that's also included in the thesis. And this project has to do I'll just let the excerpt do the talking instead of me describing the project, because that's what I've done. I've just described just briefly what Venus Project is, and don't give a lot of credit to haven't given as much credit to Jacques Fresco as he deserves. He deserves all the credit. He's literally a brilliant man, but I'm digressing, and I'm just going to go straight to the words that are written. The Venus Project proposes an alternate vision of what the future can be if we apply what we already know in order to achieve a sustainable New World civilization. It calls for a straightforward redesign of our culture in which the age-old inadequacies of war, poverty, hunger, debt, and unnecessary human suffering are viewed not only as avoidable, but as totally unacceptable. Anything less will result in a continuation of the same catalog of problems inherent in today's world. So I wrote, the title, aims and proposals, and then, and obviously, there's phases. There's Phase 1, which is Research Center, Phase 2, which is documentaries and a major motion picture, and Stage 3, which is the experimental research city. So I've kind of mirrored these things, but I've never explained it. I've never gone over the bullet points. I never really explained what the Venus Project is. I never even explained what a resource-based economy is, and I was not specific at all, and so I take full responsibility for that. However, I will go over Phase 3, experimental research city, just to kind of give a little hint. So, to test its designs and proposals, the Venus Project is working toward putting its ideals into practice by the construction of an experimental research city. Blueprints for most of the initial technologies and buildings have begun. We are currently working towards the construction of this first experimental city. This new experimental research city would be devoted to working towards the aims and goals of the Venus Project, which are, and these are the following bullet points: realizing the Declaration of the World's resources as being the common heritage of all people, transcending the artificial boundaries that currently and arbitrarily separate people, replacing money-based naturalistic economies with a resource-based world economy, assisting in stabilizing the world's birth through education and voluntary birth control, reclaiming and restoring the natural environment to the best of our ability, redesigning cities, transportation systems, agricultural industries, and industrial plants so that they are energy efficient, clean, and able to conveniently serve the needs of all the people, gradually outgrowing corporate entities and governments, national, or supranational, as means of social management, sharing and applying new technologies for the benefit of all nations, developing and using clean, renewable energy sources, manufacturing the highest quality products for the benefit of the world's people, requiring environmental impact studies prior to construction of any mega projects, encouraging the widest range of creativity and incentive towards constructive endeavor, outgrowing nationalism, bigotry, and prejudice through education, and limiting elitism, technical or otherwise, arriving at methodologies by careful research rather than random opinions, enhancing communication in schools so that our language is relevant to the physical conditions of the world, providing not only the necessities of life, but also offering challenges that stimulate the mind while emphasizing individuality rather than uniformity, and finally preparing people intellectually and emotionally for the challenges and changes that lie ahead. It says, for the changes and challenges that lie ahead, but I flipped up. So I should have just read that. I shouldn't have really gone into the whole, little monologue that I went into. I should have just really been calm and just read the actual bullet points, because they're solid, they're truth, and once again, arriving at methodologies by careful research rather than random opinions. I was giving random opinions about all the research and all the efforts and all the projects that I've created instead of actually just providing the research that is available. So I take full responsibility for that. I apologize. But there are creative environments, city systems, technologies, cybernating technologies, existing resources, human potential. These are all facets of what is a part of the Venus Project. It is a very huge project, and many things are included from nanotechnology to transportation, like a maglev transportation, a maglev train, trains traveling on magnetic levitation, to laser extractors, automated construction systems, automated cranes, to helicopters and airports, and autonomous motor vehicles, freighters, seacraft, and transveyors. And it goes into detail about the functional design, and I'm going to give and social design. So I'm going to give a little information about that. Evidence shows that life on Earth has evolved from the available environmental factors. We can see that different creatures have different abilities, but an orca will not survive on land the same way a horse will not survive in the ocean. Wildlife imbalances usually happens when the environment of a particular wildlife is destroyed. All animals have evolved in natural environments, but the human species is the only one with an ability to completely transform the environment in its favor. From an evolutionary perspective, it seems that it is not the most intelligent or the strongest species that survive, but the ones who are most adaptable to the changes in their environment. It also seems that it is our duty to maintain a dynamic balance between all natural and man-made processes, mainly because we have the ability to do so. It is our responsibility to create an environment that can support our species and at the same time maintain the necessary planetary ecological balance. So I should have been more specific actually in the past 2 weeks, I would say, going all the way back then, about what it really means to be a part of social functional design, knowing purpose versus function, and really being just creative and intuitive about specifics instead of just being very general and very broad and very frank. So I apologize for that. I take full responsibility. I should have been more detailed. I also have an excerpt from Dr. Bowen talking about the 12 environmental scientists from planet Altamars that have arrived on Earth. The Altamarians are involved in environmental enhancement, but just as I know, but I'm going to go into more detail. I'm just going to read it. It is my pleasure and joy to announce that the 12 environmental scientists from the planet Altamar have now arrived on Earth. Their mission is to work on remedying the environmental damage that has occurred in so many of our ecosystems. They also look forward to eventually working with select top human environmental scientists in a collaborative effort towards environmental cleanup and restoration of Earth. They will teach our scientists and show them the advanced technology which they use to help clean up Earth faster than we can do it on our own without such advanced environmental knowledge and equipment. The Altamarians arrived towards the end of January 2008. Their location is at a remote spot in the Western Hemisphere. I'm keeping confidential their exact arrival time and location for safety reasons. The global plutocratic cartel, the Cabal, do not want these scientists here because the Altamarians 12 will be eventually working together with human scientists in open, non-classified work projects, which will cause the Cabal's UFO cover-up to no longer be believable. The Cabal fear that these scientists from the stars will both end the UFO cover-up which the Cabal have been maintaining, and end the Cabal's monopoly over advanced technology, which the Cabal have plagiarized from StarCraft they have secretly shot down. The Cabal have been hunting for these Altamarian scientists and are ruthlessly prepared to take them out. Half a year ago, on June 7, 2007, I announced that in response to a poll I took where humans overwhelmingly declared that they welcome star visitors coming publicly among us, that Star Nations decided the best way to start was to send a small helper workforce of a dozen star visitors. These 12 individuals are from a planet they call Altamar, which orbits a red dwarf star in the system, which includes Barnard's star. Barnard's star is approximately 6 and 7 light years from Earth. They are all highly advanced environmental scientists. Each are leaders in their field, having equivalents of an Earth PhD level expertise in their environmental specialty area. Here on Earth, they will help by working with our non-Cabal scientists and officials. They will teach our scientists and show them advanced technology that they will use to help clean up Earth faster than we can do it on our own without such advanced environmental knowledge and equipment. These Ultimarians are hybrids having the basic Ultimarian genome, but were bioengineered with just enough added human genome spliced in to give them lungs and other attributes, adapting them to survive on Earth without artificial aids for our air and gravity. Because their star is dimmer than our sun, they find our sunlight too bright. They will spend most of their time in shady or indoor environments or work at night. While the Ultimarians have a sense of humor, they take their environmental remediation work very seriously. For our convenience, they have adopted human names. Chris and Oman are the two technology specialists. Their work is focused on reversing the damage to the environment and living things caused by human technologies. Their techniques are so advanced that in many cases they work without using physical equipment. They also will be working with adjusting the damaging imbalances in Earth's and electromagnetic fields caused by human actions, including by Cabal's secret weapon tests. The three botanical scientists are Fred 1, Alvin, and Luke. Fred 1 specializes in plant life on riparian, shoreline, and coastal environments. Alvin's specialization is underwater plant life that grows in rivers and freshwater lakes. Luke's work is with plants growing in the ocean and estuaries. One of the two women in the team is Maida, their energy cleanup specialist. She works with the living things energy systems that are out of alignment. Maida uses her skills in advanced energy work and healing techniques somewhat analogous to our homeopathic and psychotherapeutic healing modalities in order to correct negative and distorted energy patterns in living things and induce healing. There are 4 specialists for the earth, air, water, and fire environments: Tom, Alfred, Sam, and Fred too. He also likes the name Fred. Tom is working with Gaia, the earth, which even our scientists are now recognizing is a living, being, conscious set of interactive ecosystems. Tom will be adjusting disturbances in the earth caused by human impacts. Alfred will be working on healing the environmental damage done to our air and atmosphere. Sam will be concentrating on correcting damage done to our oceans, rivers, and lakes, and Fred 2 will be focusing on the fire element, including disturbances affecting magma and lava. I can go a little bit more into detail about all these Ultimarians, however, I'm just going to leave it there. That's was by Richard Bowen, PhD, about the August 5th, 2000 update progress report on Ultimarians' environmental work. It says, friends, I am sharing with you a report just received from Gene, the commander of the scientific team here from planet Altamar, to work on helping restore Earth's damaged environments. This is a significant message, and I urge you to share it widely. Richard Boland, PhD. And Gene gives his message. So, I just feel that's really important. I didn't go into much detail about that, but I want to explain that and just have that be explained. And also, I should have declared and really been going into more detail about that previously, and I didn't, so I'm glad that I spoke and gave a little insight about the Ultimarians, and ultimately just a little insight about the helpfulness that they have. And I also go into detail about NESARA. I'm going to try and find the definition for you. The NESARA is the National Economic Security and Reformation Act. And there's a note, writing a history of NESARA requires locating the separate dots and attempting to put them together to create truth. The original documents are sequestered, and those individuals directly involved are still under strict gag order. I have used as my foundation a history written by James Rink. My research set out to prove NASRA by locating original documents and articles written by reputable people that have illustrated each of these tenets. I have inserted some of these URLs for these tenets into Ring's history, and in my 7 years of research I have found nothing to disprove the existence of NASRA law. The internet is loaded with disinformation that can be easily dismissed by research. As you read this history, you will find mention of high officials being cloned. The capacity to clone an adult individually signifies just one of the many secrets withheld from the public. As all that is hidden is revealed, this fact will be confirming. Cloning of an adult individual is used for various reasons by those working behind the scenes. One example will become known at the divine right moment, the cloning of Princess Diana to avoid her death. Another example is to clone a public figure to prevent public reaction to she being moved from their position, as occurred with Janet Reno. Forward parentheses info added 2014 close parentheses. That's just a little information right there, and just go into a little bit of details and nitty gritty about NESRA, and just how this is obviously revealing a lot of truth and a lot of excellent understandings. And so I didn't explain that before, but now I explain that, and things are good. So I would like to end this broadcast series. A very short live broadcast, just 30 minutes. However, this obviously culminates the importance of my broadcasts that I created earlier, and I actually want to harp on that because it's very great, but yet still improving, and it's obviously still a shock, and a lot of people are still in shock, and they're still trying to admit that all this stuff happened, and they're still trying to say, like, I mean, I don't care what other people think. I don't really care about the response, to be honest, even though the response is probably epic. But the epic response with amazing numbers and just amazingness, and like just that goodness and that good feeling that you have. And that's the emotion that I always register with. I'm not registering any other emotions. So that's a good thing. That's a very, very good thing. There's lots of love in what I do. There's a lot of dedication. There's a lot of time, a lot of effort, and I just want to say, I really love to be on this broadcast and be the anchorman and give the Christopher Bowen show, a very good, rewarding status and a congratulatory attitude, and I really deserve telling myself exactly how much I've worked on. And actually, it doesn't matter, dude. I don't care about the work and all the work. That's not important. The work and all that stuff and saying that I worked hard or anything like that, it's not important. The importance is the earth. The importance is Gaia. The remembrance that she's a sentient being, and just the remembrance that we're all one, and just the remembrance that that can be remembered. That amazing impact that I created can be remembered. And that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. And I love you all.